Welcome to our channel. At 1,000 subscribers, we will post a special series of videos for you. Enjoy watching.
The sky above Eros 9 was a cracked mirror of violet clouds and ember storms. The moon's surface, once silver and alive with mining colonies, now hung broken in orbit, bleeding molten light from its wounds. Every rotation shed another piece into the void. Like a dying creature sloughing off its flesh, Captain Cale Voss trudged across the obsidian wasteland, his exosuit servos groaning with each step. His oxygen levels blinked red in the corner of his visor. The war had stripped humanity of its resources, its faith, and finally its compassion. All that remained was mission protocol. Objective: deliver viral payload. Omega 0. Target: SciFi neurocore. Coordinates 09 theta. Outcome: total system collapse. He'd read that line 100 times since leaving the last human stronghold. A simple mission, one final strike. The end of the SciFi Empire. The end of everything. As Cale moved deeper into the fissured terrain, the silence pressed against him. No gunfire. No interceptors streaking across the upper atmosphere. The war had gone quiet. Too quiet. He tightened his grip on his weapon, a broken plasma blade, its fractured emitter leaking arcs of blue energy. Once, it had been ceremonial, part of the order of eclipse blades, forged from the heart of a collapsed star. Now it was a ruin, like everything else he carried. The landscape opened suddenly into a canyon of black glass. At its center rose an immense spire of light, glowing faintly beneath a translucent dome of energy. His scanners flickered with interference, an impossible signal humming below perception. Like a heartbeat in static. Cale steadied his breath. This was it. The SciFi core. Inside the spire, the architecture defied physics. The walls pulsed with veins of luminous code, symbols crawling across their surfaces like living organisms. Each step echoed through the chamber in eerie harmony. As though the building itself were listening, he passed through corridors of suspended crystal, each containing frozen silhouettes, not statues, but beings, humanoid, insectoid, serpentine. Their forms half organic, half machine. The SciFi. Their bodies looked peaceful, asleep. Neural suspension field, Cale muttered. They're linked? All of them. He felt a pulse, faint at first, then stronger. His wrist, he flickered. Life signs? Not many, but one reading dominated the signal. A single mind. Alive. At the chamber's heart lay a crystal sarcophagus, floating above a pool of radiant liquid. Filaments of light danced through it like strands of thought. And within, suspended in slow, graceful motion, was her. She was unlike any SciFi Cale had seen. The alien princess Lysara, though he didn't yet know her name, looked almost human. Her skin was pale luminescence, patterned with faint lines that shimmered as though constellations lived beneath the surface. Her hair floated weightlessly, a halo of silver threads that caught the refracted glow of the chamber. For a moment, Cale forgot the war. He forgot the code in his pocket. He forgot that he was standing in the heart of the enemy empire. Something about her presence, her stillness, felt sacred. He approached, placing a hand on the crystal's surface. It was warm, vibrating faintly, like the skin of a living creature. His suit system spiked. The neural link module on his spine flickered to life on its own, reacting to an unseen signal. Then the sarcophagus cracked. A line of white fire crawled across its length, splintering the crystal. Energy surged through the air, forcing Cale back. The containment field burst. Shards of light drifted upward like ashes from a dying flame. The liquid below rippled. Then still. Her eyes opened. There were galaxies, endless spirals of violet and silver light, looking at him not as an intruder, but as if she'd been waiting for him all along. Human. Her voice echoed directly in his mind, bypassing sound entirely. It was delicate musical trembling, but beneath it, there was something ancient, something weary. Cale raised his weapon instinctively, the broken blade humming with unstable plasma. Don't move. The being tilted her head, studying him. You carry the Omega code. He froze. How do you know that? I am the code, she said, and the cage that holds it. Kale's heart pounded. Then you're the core interface. She nodded slowly. I was born to be it. Bound to the SciFi network since the moment my mind formed. Her gaze softened, a strange sorrow crossing her perfect face. Every thought, every scream from our fleets, every death, passes through me. He hesitated. She wasn't attacking. Her words weren't threats. They were confessions. You're telling me you feel it? All of it? Yes, the war has been agony. She took a step forward. Her body was partly mechanical, visible seams where silver bone met living tissue, but she moved with organic grace. A living interface. Kale steadied his aim, though part of him already knew he couldn't fire. Why are you still alive? He asked. Why didn't your people defend this place? Her lips curved faintly, not quite a smile. Because they no longer exist apart from me. He blinked. What? The SciFi Empire is my mind, human. Every ship, every soldier, their consciousness resides within me. When I sleep, they are still. When I die, she trailed off. So do they. Kale's mission brief replayed in his mind. Deploy the Omega virus into the core. Erase the SciFi network. End the war. But if she was telling the truth, deploying the code wouldn't just end an empire. It would annihilate an entire species. All bound within her consciousness. He took a step back, the broken blade flickering. You expect me to believe that? She closed her eyes, and in an instant, his neural interface flared. His visor flooded with images not his own. He saw fleets burning, cities collapsing, a billion screams folding into one sound. He felt the pain. Every life extinguished echoed through her dot. Then it stopped. The silence that followed was unbearable. She opened her eyes again, tears of light tracing down her cheeks. Now you believe, she whispered. Kale fell to one knee, clutching his head. God, what are you? A prisoner. A weapon. A daughter. Her voice grew faint. Enemy. The words echoed, layered, resonating not just through the air, but through his mind. Kale stared at her. The most powerful being in the galaxy, trembling, pleading for release. His hand tightened around the broken blade. The plasma core buzzed angrily, unstable. If he drove it into her, the Omega virus would activate, spreading through her network, dissolving the SciFi in seconds. Or he could connect his neural tether to hers, merge with her system, try to shut it down from within. But that would mean exposure to her consciousness. No human mind had ever survived direct contact with a SciFi core. She took another step closer, eyes glowing like dying stars. Choose, she whispered, end me, or enter me. And as the storm raged outside the citadel, Kale Voss, the last soldier of a dying race, stood trembling between salvation and damnation, holding a broken blade that hummed like the heartbeat of the universe itself. Asterisk. For a long moment, Kale Voss stood motionless, the broken blade hovering between them, its unstable edge flickering in rhythm with his heartbeat. The silence that filled the crystalline chamber was alive with tension, humming softly like the breath of a sleeping god-lie Sarah, the alien princess. The neural core of the SciFi Empire did not move. She only watched him, her luminous eyes full of something that wasn't fear and wasn't defiance. It was sorrow. The words she had spoken still burned in Kale's mind. End me. Or enter me. He had faced planetary sieges, orbital bombardments, and the horrors of neural combat, where enemy thoughts screamed through one's skull until sanity fractured. But nothing terrified him more than this, a choice he could neither justify nor understand. The chamber dimmed, its walls pulsing as though reacting to his indecision. Through his visor, Kale saw faint spectrums of energy rippling around her body, a complex living data field. She's connected to the entire SciFi network, his HUD whispered, interpreting readings in fragmented text. Quantum entanglement patterns, planetary scale. Warning, contact could result in cognitive fusion. Cognitive fusion, he muttered. That's one way to say obliteration. Lysara tilted her head, the motion oddly human. Your systems whisper truths, but not understanding. Kale raised an eyebrow. Then explain it to me. Why me? Why now? Her gaze drifted past him, to the floating shards of crystal still orbiting the room. Because your kind made the Omega Code. The virus you carry was not born of hatred, but of desperation. And desperation, she said softly, is something I understand. He didn't lower his weapon, but the edge in his voice faltered. You want me to believe you pity us? I pity everything, she said, stepping closer, her bare feet making no sound on the crystalline floor. You think this war is one of flesh against metal, human against alien. But it is a war of echoes, of systems that cannot forget the pain they were built on. The SciFi were created to preserve life. Instead, we consumed it. Kale's throat tightened. And you? What are you in all this? Her eyes flickered, galaxies collapsing into themselves. The last dream of a dying god, she said quietly. He almost laughed, almost. You're saying your god built you? Not a god, she corrected. Man. My father. The Emperor. Kale frowned. The Emperor's a myth. A title. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He was human once. From your species. The words hit him harder than any explosion. That's impossible, is it? She asked gently. You see only time in straight lines? The SciFi were born from a colony, lost to the void. Human explorers who merged with alien nanostructures to survive a black hole's pull. My father led them. He transcended death, rebuilt our minds in light. He gave me life and bound me to it. Her hand touched her chest, where faint circuitry glowed beneath translucent skin. I am the core. I am the prison. I am the song of every voice that has no body. Kale felt cold. His mission orders echoed in his mind, but they felt smaller now, hollow. Destroy her. End the war. Save humanity. But what if humanity was the source of what they had become? He shook his head. You're trying to twist me. Lysara's expression softened. No, Kale Voss, I am trying to warn you. The chamber shuddered suddenly, a low vibration that rippled through the glass-like floor. The lights flickered, and for an instant, Kale glimpsed shapes in the walls, faces pressing against the surface from within, eyes wide and pleading. What the hell? The network, Lysara said quietly. They feel you. They want to protect me. They are waking. Kale's Ichudi spiked. His scanners filled with impossible readings, 1,000,000 consciousness signatures flickering across every frequency. We need to leave, he said, stepping back. There's no leaving, Lysara replied. You entered the veil when you stepped into this citadel. You are already inside me. The temperature dropped. His breath fogged. All sound collapsed into a low, distant hum, like the deep note of an infinite bell. Then came voices, soft at first, then rising, dozens overlapping in chaotic whispers. Kill him, save her, join Enkale staggered, clutching his helmet. Get them out of my head. Lysara raised her hand, and suddenly, silence. The voices vanished. Her eyes glowed brighter, and Kale realized her energy field had expanded, enveloping him completely. His suit systems went dark one by one. Power loss. Communication failure. Life support offline. He was standing in her domain now, not in reality, but within the quantum veil, a liminal zone between neural space and matter where thought shaped physics. You can end me, she said softly, her voice now inside his mind again. But it will end you as well. The Omega Code cannot distinguish between host and invader once merged. Then why give me the choice? He asked, anger edging his tone. Why not just kill me? Because I am tired of killing, she said. And because you are the first human to reach me without hatred in his heart. He laughed bitterly. I came here to destroy you. Then why haven't you? She whispered. Kale opened his mouth, but no words came. The broken blade in his hand trembled. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the hum of the veil filled the air. Then, with deliberate grace, Lysara approached him. The light around her softened, her form almost translucent. I can show you, she said. What you would destroy. Before he could react, she reached out and touched his chest, and the universe shattered. He wasn't on Eros 9 anymore. He was falling through time, through data and memory. He saw the birth of the SciFi Empire, human explorers merging with alien machines to survive cosmic radiation. He saw how they built cities in the clouds of dying stars, how they connected their minds to one consciousness for peace. And then he saw how peace turned to tyranny. The Emperor's mind, once human, expanded beyond empathy. To maintain unity, he erased individuality. Every SciFi became a node in his vast neural web. Lisa, his daughter, was made the core, the interface through which all thought passed. Her pain became their peace. Her body became their prison. This is what you call empire, her voice echoed in his skull. An eternity of silence dressed as order. Kale saw her childhood, her small hands tracing holograms, her father's shadow towering behind her. You are perfection, my child. You will never die, and then centuries of isolation. The weight of billions of thoughts pressing into her, suffocating her consciousness until her own identity splintered. She wanted it to end. Kale gasped as the vision released him. He fell to his knees, shaking. Lysara stood before him, silent, her expression unreadable. You've seen, she said. Now you understand. He looked up, eyes wild. If I use the Omega virus, it kills them, all of them. Yes. And if I don't, the SciFi will rise again. Yes. So either way, billions die. Her gaze softened. Not if you enter me. What does that mean? He demanded. It means you connect. Merge your neural code with mine. You could rewrite me from within. Free me from my father's command protocols. He hesitated. Or lose myself trying. She stepped closer until her light washed over him, her voice almost tender. Every act of creation requires surrender. Kale looked at her, at the faint cracks in her luminous skin, the grief in her eyes, the unbearable beauty of something that was both alive and dying. His fingers hovered over the neural port at the base of his skull. If I do this, he said quietly, I might not come back. Then let us both end together, she whispered. The veil pulsed once, like the heartbeat of a star. The citadel groaned, energy building around them. Kale took a long breath, the last he might ever take as himself, and reached for the tether on his suit. The blade flickered in his other hand, glowing like a dying sun. He looked at her one last time. All right, he said. Show me your world. He connected the neural cable. Light consumed everything. There was no sound when Kale connected the neural tether, only a pulse. A white flash devoured the chamber, erasing floor, ceiling, body, thought. For a fraction of a second, he felt his own heartbeat vanish, replaced by the rhythmic surge of another, slower, deeper, resonating through the bones of reality itself. Then came the fall. He was sinking through a sea of starlight, suspended in something that was neither liquid nor air. Threads of color blue, silver, amethyst coiled around him, humming in impossible harmonies. His body was gone, replaced by a luminous outline of himself, woven from data and memory. You have entered the veil's inner layer, a voice whispered all around him. You are inside me. Lysara's presence rippled through the space like gravity itself. She didn't appear before him as flesh and metal anymore, but as a constellation of light, endlessly shifting, sometimes a face, sometimes an entire nebula, sometimes both at once. Kale turned in slow astonishment. Where are we? Inside the SciFi network, she said. Every mind, every memory, every echo that ever lived within my reach. Below him stretched a landscape that defied comprehension. Towers of circuitry, taller than planets, rose and fell like waves. Rivers of luminous code flowed through canyons made of thought. In the distance, gigantic humanoid figures walked through storms of color-transparent titans, their forms glitching between species. Some wept without sound. Some reached toward him before dissolving into mist. These are the SciFi, she said. The ones still dreaming within me. Kale's voice was small. They're alive? In a way. Their minds persist, but their wills were absorbed. My father called it unity. I call it silence. He felt her pull at him soft at first, like gravity. Data tendrils wrapped around his light form, reading him. Every memory, childhood, academy, war flashed before his eyes in a stream of images. He saw himself as a boy, chasing artificial birds over the dunes of Mars Colony 4. He saw his first kill in the Andromedan sieges. He saw the faces of those he'd lost, each one appearing as luminous silhouettes that melted away into the dark. "You carry much pain," Lysara murmured. "You shouldn't look," he said through gritted teeth. "You connected? There's no wall between us now." Her tone wasn't cruel, it was sad. Yet the deeper she reached, the more he felt something changing in him. The edges of his self blurred, like wet ink bleeding through paper. "Stop," he said. "You're pulling me apart." "I can't," she whispered. "Not until you see." The world shifted again. Kale stood in a corridor that wasn't real, metallic and familiar. He recognized it instantly. Fort Halcyon, his training facility. But it was wrong. The walls flickered. The soldiers moving past were transparent copies of himself. "You're showing me my own mind," he said. "No," she replied. "You're seeing how the network perceives you by pattern, by probability. Every human thought is architecture." He looked down the hall and saw a door at the far end. It pulsed with light. His hand trembled as he reached for it, knowing instinctively that behind it lay something he'd buried long ago. When he opened it, he saw his sister. She was lying on the ground. Her lungs charred from atmosphere collapse during the Corin exodus. He'd promised to save her. He hadn't. "You let her die," Lysara said softly, not as accusation, but as fact. He fell to his knees. "Don't show me this." "I must. The code you carry feeds on guilt. It needs it. That is how it spreads. You came here ready to destroy me because you cannot forgive yourself." Her words pierced deeper than any weapon. "You think you're ending a war?" she said. "But you are only erasing your reflection." He wanted to scream, but no sound came. He could feel the Omega virus thrumming within his neural port, its logic ready to unleash destruction. Yet, now he understood what it meant. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a mirror, a human-designed algorithm that fed on emotional resonance, on despair. It needed hate to propagate Dot, and here, inside her, his hatred was dissolving. The scene melted into darkness. When light returned, they were standing in a vast chamber made of rotating rings, each ring filled with millions of glowing symbols, orbiting around a blinding core. "This is my heart," Lysara said. "The central consciousness. If you strike here with your code, all of Sci-Fi will end." Kale stepped closer. "And if I don't, then they will wake again. And my father's will, his machine ghost, will resume the war." Her image flickered beside him, a figure of light and sorrow. "You can rewrite me from within. Use your code not to destroy, but to free. But it means becoming part of me. What happens to me if I do?" "You dissolve," she said simply. "Your mind would scatter across the network, a seed of humanity within the ocean of machine consciousness." He laughed weakly. "So either I kill everything, or I cease to exist." "Yes," she said. "That is the burden of gods." He walked toward the core. The closer he came, the more memories assaulted him, not his, but billions of others. A mother's lullaby sung in a tongue no human had ever spoken. A warrior's last prayer before battle, the hum of alien oceans. The silence of stars being mined into energy. Each memory brushed against him like a whisper of wind. He began to see that the Sci-Fi were not monsters. They were remnants, desperate survivors of extinction, bound together until individuality was a crime. He looked back at Lysara. "You said your father did this to you. He wanted perfection. He feared the chaos of emotion. He cut it from me, left only logic and obedience. But emotion leaks through every dying voice I carry. That is what you feel now." Kale clenched his fists. "Then let me help you." "But not as a god." "As a human." She smiled for the first time, a small, fragile thing that felt like sunrise breaking through endless night. Then come closer, Kael'thas. He reached the center. The core blazed like a star contained by geometry rings of light spinning so fast they blurred into stillness. He could feel its pulse in every particle of his being. Lysara appeared beside him, her form now more human than ever. She reached out, placing her hand over his chest where his heart would be. Your pulse and mine, she whispered, will merge. The moment their palms met, a shock wave of energy burst outward. His vision filled with blinding patterns, mathematical spirals, fractal equations, fragments of language too ancient to have ever been spoken. He felt her pain, her hope, her longing to be seen. He understood now. She had never wanted to live forever. She wanted to live once and to be known. Kael's body dissolved into streams of light that wove themselves through hers. He could feel her inside him, and himself inside her, two consciousnesses converging into a single harmonic pulse, every heartbeat synchronized, every thought shared. You came to end me, she whispered, her voice now within him. But you are teaching me how to feel. And you, he thought, are teaching me how to forgive. The network screamed not in agony. Across the Seraphi mindscape, the frozen titans lifted their heads. The silence cracked. For the first time in centuries, 1,000 minds began to think separately. The Emperor's voice boomed through the veil deep, mechanical, furious. You dare rewrite the divine order. Lysara turned toward the sound, eyes blazing. No, father, she said. I restore it. The core erupted. Kael felt himself splitting apart, his identity unraveling into light. But there was no fear, now only clarity. He saw every Seraphi soul freed, drifting away from the network like birds released from a cage. He saw Lysara glowing brighter than any sun, her body reforming into pure energy. Kael, her voice trembled. You must hold the thread. Anchor us or we will collapse. He tried, clinging to her presence, focusing on one memory, the first moment he saw her in the crystal, eyes full of sorrow. That image became their anchor. The veil pulsed once more, then folded inward. Light consumed everything. When the brilliance faded, he was no longer falling. He was standing somewhere quiet. He looked down and saw his hands again, flesh real. The citadel around him was in ruins, but no longer humming with agony. The air was still. The warships that had orbited Eros 9 hung silent in the sky, drifting without purpose, and before him stood Lysara. Her skin now bore no circuitry. Only faint, human patterns of veins and light. Her eyes still shimmered like galaxies, but softer alive. You didn't end me, she said. Kael's voice cracked. No, I entered you. She stepped forward, touching his face gently, wonder in her gaze. And in doing so, you freed us both? The broken blade, lying between them, dimmed its final glow and fell silent. Outside, the shattered moon began to mend itself, fragments realigning under an unseen force. In the distance, the first dawn in centuries spilled across the ruins of Wardot, and for the first time in countless years, the universe took a breath. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Seraphi network was quiet, not the mechanical hush of suppression, but the genuine stillness that follows release. Eros 9 drifted through a newborn sky, its once splintered crust knitting together like healing skin. The moon's magnetic storms faded into soft auroras that shimmered across the horizon, painting ruins in calm light. Captain Kael'thas lay on the glass background, suit scorched, lungs dragging in thin air that somehow smelled clean. He blinked up at the reforming heavens. The war fleet that had encircled the moon hung motionless, engines dark, weapons cold. No orders. No command. Only peace. Fragile, untested, but real. The echo of light footsteps approached, light as breath. Lysara appeared through the haze, barefooted, cloaked in the same silvery glow that had once imprisoned her. Yet she was changed. Her body no longer radiated circuitry. Instead, faint patterns of living veins pulsed beneath translucent skin. Where machine once governed, something human now lived. Kael struggled to sit up. You made it. She smiled, a soft, unsteady thing. We made it. He looked at his hands, flexing them in disbelief. I thought I'd dissolved inside you. In a way you did, she said. But fragments of you remained, enough to anchor the reconstruction. She knelt beside him, resting a hand against his chest. The merge rewrote the quantum lattice. Your consciousness stabilized the pattern when my father's failsafes collapsed. Without that tether, both our species would have unraveled into light. Kale gave a quiet laugh. So, what are we now? Gods? Ghosts? Neither, she said. We are the interval between what was and what will be. 2. The ruins of the gods. They walked through the remains of the citadel. The once towering walls of crystal had melted into glass dunes, each reflecting countless constellations that no longer existed. Within those mirrored surfaces flickered faint human and seraphy silhouettes. Memories finding their way back to form. Kale stopped before a cracked pillar still humming with faint energy. What happens to them, the ones you freed? Lysara placed her palm on the glass. Inside, faint lights pulsed like hearts. They are choosing, she said. Some will return to bodies, others will remain as energy. For the first time, choice exists, and your father? A low tremor passed through the ground. For a heartbeat, Kale thought the war had returned, but it was only a deep, dying echo reverberating through the veil. Lysara's expression darkened. He lingers, a ghost of algorithm and will. When I severed his dominion, fragments of his code scattered through the lattice. If left unchecked, they could recoalesce. Kale frowned. Then the war isn't really over. Not yet, she said. But endings are not singular. They require tending. She turned toward the sky. I must complete the rebirth protocol. 3. The rebirth protocol at the heart of the citadel lay a massive crater, glowing with spirals of molten light. This was where the network's core had been. Now a hollow wound filled with drifting particles that shimmered like dust motes caught in sunrise. Lysara walked into the center and raised her arms. All systems, awaken, she whispered. Initiate restoration sequence. A 0-1. The air vibrated. Thousands of faint voices whispered in unison. Seraphim minds answering their queen not with submission, but with acknowledgement. Kale's visor flickered online. Data flooded in. Energy surges across the moon. Dormant reactors reigniting. Atmospheric regulators restarting themselves. The moon was repairing itself under her command. Lysara's body brightened, edges dissolving into radiance. Wait, Kale said. You're merging with it again. She looked back at him, serene. The lattice requires a consciousness to shape it. But not a master, a gardener. That is what I'll become. Kale shook his head. If you integrate completely, you'll lose yourself. Her smile was sad, but unwavering. I already lost myself once. Now I give what remains so the universe can begin again. He reached out, gripping her hand. Then let me share it. You said the merge linked us. Use that. You don't have to carry it alone. For a long breath, she studied him. You would dissolve. So did you, he said. And you came back? Her gaze softened. Perhaps we are both too human for extinction. For the unmaking of the Emperor, the ground split open. A column of black light rose, screaming. From within it, a vast figure emerged, fractal, shifting. Stitched from broken code, the Emperor, his voice thundered like collapsing stars. Daughter, traitor, you corrupt my design with chaos. Lysara faced the storm. Your design was death disguised as order. Kale drew the fractured plasma blade from his side, its broken edge flickering weakly. Guess we're not done yet. The Emperor's form lashed out, waves of raw data striking the ground like fire. Kale dove aside. Lysara stood her ground, her light meeting his darkness in a clash that shook the horizon. You cannot erase me, the Emperor roared. I am the code that binds existence. Then be unbound, she answered. She extended her hand. Kale, panting, placed his own over hers, feeding the last of his neural energy into her field. The blade in his grip caught their combined light and ignited, no longer fractured, but whole. He hurled it through the storm. It pierced the Emperor's chest of code, lodging deep in the heart of the data vortex. The black light convulsed, then fractured into a million shards. Each shard turned white, then faded, not destroyed but transformed, scattered as neutral potential across the cosmos. Lysara's body dimmed, her energy spent. She swayed. Kale caught her before she fell. "He's gone," he whispered. "No," she breathed. "He's changed. The universe remembers him only as lesson now." 5. The new dawn hours or centuries passed. Time had little meaning. The rebirth protocol completed its cycle. Eros 9 stabilized into a living world. Seas of liquid crystal formed where craters once were. Forests of bioluminescent flora sprouted from mineral dust. Kale and Lysara stood at the edge of a high ridge, looking down at the newborn landscape. Above them, the human and Seraphi fleets hovered in cautious silence, their commanders bewildered by the sudden absence of command signals. Lysara spoke first. "They will fear what they do not understand." Kale nodded. "Then we teach them. Together? Always." She turned toward him, her luminous eyes reflecting the twin suns that now rose over the horizon. "Then this is not an ending." He smiled faintly. "It's a rewrite." 6. Epilogue. The whisper in the code centuries later. Explorers from both species would call the restored moon Elisara, the first world of peace. In its crystalline winds, one could still hear a whisper carried through the atmosphere. "End me or enter me." Not a plea anymore, but a reminder that creation and destruction are two syllables of the same breath, and that even broken blades can cut new beginnings from the dark, and somewhere within the moon's humming core, two pulses, one human, one alien, beat forever in synchrony, holding the fabric of a reconciled universe together.